European ministers visit Syria to strengthen ties with new government. Oof. So here we go. The Europeans have already gone into Syria to make connections with the new government, and they didn't do this with Bashar al-Assad, guys. This is what's so scandalous about it. So they didn't have relations, or they didn't have any sort of diplomatic engagement with Bashar al-Assad because Bashar al-Assad was bad. Bashar bad. But they don't mind working with terrorists. You see, this is what we're dealing with here. So you have the Western world, which talks about democracy and principles and all that stuff, all of these maxims, all that trite talk. And they didn't want to have any engagement with Bashar al-Assad. So what happened? They didn't connect with Bashar. They didn't have diplomatic ties with Bashar. France didn't have diplomatic ties with Bashar. But now they're going into Syria to work with terrorists. So they want terrorism. That's what these people want. Remember what I told you about terrorism as a means to an end. Terrorism is not just something that happens. Terrorism is a weapon. It's not entirely the weapon that is being used by the terrorist. It's ultimately a weapon that is used by those who support the terrorist. And they're using the terrorist to create pretexts. That's what terrorism is there for. Terrorism is always used as a pretext for something. So if you have a terrorist attack, you then use it as a pretext to advance some kind of a policy. What do the Europeans want out of this? They want terrorism in Syria so that Turkey has a reason to enter, because they want to help their Turkish friend take over Syria, because that would mean having a giant, big, fat NATO country right there in Syria to block the Russians. This is about blocking the Russians. And that's why they want the terrorists there, because the terrorists are not only a proxy of NATO, but they can be used as a reason to support or to justify a full-on Turkish military deployment into Syria. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So it says here that Syria's new leaders met the French and German foreign ministers in the capital of Damascus on Friday in one of the highest level Western diplomatic visits since the fall of President Bashar al-Assad last month. Annalena Baerbock of Germany and her French counterpart Jean-Noël Barrot arrived in Damascus for the first such trip in years on behalf of the European Union, as world powers have begun building ties with Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Oh my God, guys. So they didn't want to make ties with Bashar al-Assad, who was a moderate, who was westernized, but they don't mind making ties with terrorists who are really just an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. Wasn't Al-Qaeda the big bad guy? I remember back in the day when I was in middle school, when I first heard about Al-Qaeda. Remember George Bush? He would talk about Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was the big bad guy. Al-Qaeda was the big bad guy. And now you have European countries who were refusing to go into Syria because it was being ran by Bashar, but now they're going into Syria because they want to support Al-Qaeda. You see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I said in one of my last videos. War is a scam. War is a complete and utter scam. It's bullshit, and honestly, guys, people shouldn't join the military. I'm going to say it right now. I think that you should not join the military, and I think if you have a son who wants to join the military, I think you should actually stop him. I think you should actually prevent your son from joining the military. I think you should say, nope, I won't support you joining the military. I believe that. I think it's a scam. And I'm not saying that to be edgy or to be provocative or to be I'm not doing this to give off this image that, look, I'm Mr. Anti-America. I'm just saying this because they're scamming people and they're convincing people to join the military, and they want to use people. They don't mind sending people out to die for some bullshit war, to fight some enemy who America is later on going to say is a friend in the future. Back in the day, they said it was the Taliban and Al-Qaeda who were the big bad guys. Now they're our friends, and now we're giving billions of dollars to the Taliban. Billions of dollars. You pay your taxes every year. The money's going to the Taliban. Your money's going to Israel, and the Israelis are doing a genocide. They're pushing people out of their homes, and they're also creating a Jewish ISIS as we speak. They're forming a whole military movement within the IDF that will be made up of ultra-religious Jews. And these people, once they get military training, they become the most fanatical of all of the IDF soldiers. So they're making that bigger. They already have a unit in Israel that consists of nothing but ultra-Orthodox Jews. But they want to recruit more of these people because Israel needs a bigger army. So they're going to be recruiting more Orthodox Jews. And once they get into the military and once they have that training, those Orthodox Jews, they go from being nerds who read the Torah all day to being killers. And they become the most abusive and they become the most violent out of all the IDF soldiers. Look it up. You can look this up. Look up Netzah Yehuda, the Netzah Yehuda military unit of the IDF. They are the Jewish ISIS, and so the Israelis are making that bigger. They're making the Netzah movement bigger. I call them the Netzahs. They're like Nazis, Netzahs. I call them Netzahs because their unit is called Netzah Yehuda. They are the most aggressive IDF unit out of the whole IDF. I call them the Netzahs, and we'll talk more about those people later on because there's an article that I want to read to you guys about IDF abuses. And the Netzahs will abuse Palestinians. They'll abuse people in the West Bank. They have, in fact, killed people. And they will beat people up for no reason, just for fun. They'll beat people up. So these people are evil, and they're the Jewish ISIS. So that's forming. So your money's going to Israel. Your money is going to the Taliban. And thousands of Americans died fighting who? Fighting the Taliban and fighting Islamists like Mr. Ahmed al-Sharaa, who NATO is now helping to rule over Syria. War is a scam. It's a complete and utter scam, guys. I'm going to join the military to fight for my country. You're not fighting for your country. You're not fighting for the little old lady down the road. You're fighting for some military-industrial complex who want to make money by selling weapons and making weapons and doing government contracts. Now, they'll sit there and say, I'm serving my country. You're not serving your country. You're serving the interests of very wealthy people. And they don't give a shit if you die. And if you get killed by Al-Qaeda, don't worry, because 20 years from that point, America will be saying Al-Qaeda is our friend, and they're already saying that that's already the case. Same thing with the Taliban. 20 years of war in Afghanistan, thousands of Americans killed. And for what? For billions of dollars to be sent to the Taliban. And here we are. Supporting Al-Qaeda and supporting the Taliban. But you want to join the military. For what? To fight an enemy that America is going to say is America's ally 20 years from now? It's bullshit. Nazi Germany was the enemy. Germany is now our ally. Japan was the enemy. Japan is now our ally. All these countries are our allies, and we don't give a shit if Japan turns to samurai ideology again. We don't give a damn if Germany turns to Nazism again. In fact, if Germany turns to Nazism again, America will say, great. Now we can use a big Nazi weapon against the Russians. And in fact, after World War II, the Nazis became our allies. Yeah, I'm not even talking about just Germany. I'm talking about all the Nazis that America was supporting during the Cold War. Oh, yeah, and Ukraine. Let's not forget all the Nazis in Ukraine. We're helping those guys as well. So Nazis are not even the enemy anymore. So it says here that Syria's new leader, so the Europeans are hanging out with Al-Qaeda. How long have I been streaming? 1 hour. The Europeans have been hanging out with Al-Qaeda because Bashar was bad, but Al-Qaeda is good. So they told us back when I was in junior high that Al-Qaeda was bad and the Taliban was bad. Now the Taliban is good and Al-Qaeda is good. And some moderate dude who was an eye doctor in the UK, he's actually the bad guy. I'm talking about Bashar al-Assad. Oh, and by the way, they said that the reason why the Syrians were violent is because of Bashar. Well, Bashar is gone, so how come they're still violent? Because it's bullshit. Bashar al-Assad was not the source of all the problems. He left, and they're still killing people. The rebels They're not rebels now. Now they're the government. But the people who were once rebels are still violent. So Bashar wasn't the source of the problem. The source of the problem was Islam. Let's be real here. The source of the problem was jihadism. So the Europeans they're kissing Al-Qaeda ass right now. And it says here that Miss Baerbock said, Miss Bare Ass, she said, we are traveling to Damascus today to offer our support, but also with clear expectations of the new rulers. A new beginning can only happen if all Syrians, no matter their ethnicity and religion, are given a place in the political process. Tell that to the Alawites, lady. Sausage eater. Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is still blacklisted as a terrorist group. Oh my god. Guys, they're not even trying to hide. I can't believe this shit. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. Back in the day, they were saying, well, these are the moderate rebels. These are the nice rebels. Now, there are some bad rebels, but we're not helping those people. We're helping the moderate ones. Now they're working with Al-Qaeda, and they haven't even removed HTS from the list of terrorist groups. Like, hey, is Bill gonna... I told him to delete the HTS from the list of terrorists. Has he deleted it? No, he's still on vacation. He went to Tahiti. He hasn't removed it from the list yet. Oh, he hasn't? No. Well, can you get Billy Bob to remove it from the list? Yeah, okay, I'll call him up. Okay. Did you call up Billy Bob to remove HTS from the list? Oh, well, he said he's in the middle of something right now. He's texting on his bathroom break right now. He's talking to some girl that he met on Hinge. He said he'll take care of it. HTS is... They don't give a shit anymore. Back in the day, they were like, hey, remove that shit from the... Immediately. Azov Battalion, we had a whole thing in Congress about how they're not supposed to get American weapons. Yeah, remove that shit. No, get rid of that shit. I don't know if they got a bunch of millennials running the U.S. government now, but they don't even try to hide it. They got a bunch of... I'm guessing they have a bunch of millennials working in the government because they're on bathroom breaks all the time and they're playing Tetris on their phone. And yeah, did you remove HTS from the list of terrorists? No, but I deleted the thing on the website about how there's a $10 million bounty for Mr. Jelani. Oh, you removed it. Okay, good. Yeah. Because there were people calling up because nobody knew about this $10 million bounty. Then they saw Al-Jelani in the news, and then they heard about the $10 million bounty, and they're like, I know where Al-Jelani is. I want the $10 million. I saw his ass on the news. Give me the $10 million. Well, yeah. We were getting way too many calls, so we had to remove the $10 million bounty. Yeah. And HTS, they're still on the list. Gotta get that shit removed. So HTS is still on the terrorist organization list. And these sausage eaters and these baguette eaters over there in Europe, they're hanging out with these terrorists. And they're still on the list. Oh my god! I guess the Nazis never left Germany. They're still there. Remember, Hitler hung out with Muslims. He liked Muslim terrorists because they hated Jews. And now you... the German government hanging out with Al-Qaeda. I guess Hitler's ghost is still around. Hitler's smiling right now. Like, all right, my people's still doing some good. People say, Ted, why do you think that Nazism's going to revive? Let's see. HTS says that they want to kill the Jews and they want to take over Jerusalem. And Germany's hanging out with them. The Nazis never left. I remember growing up in junior high, they used to say Al-Qaeda, they're the bad ones. Yes, Al-Zawahiri, yeah, they cut people's heads. They're bad. Oh, they're bad. And our boys in boots, they're over there and they're fighting them. They're keeping them away from here. We got to protect our children. Little Billy and little Kelly need to be protected from those bearded zombies. those bearded desert dwellers over there, those desert dogs, keep those desert hounds away from our children. Our men in uniform are over there. Meanwhile, back in Iraq, you got a bunch of guys like smoking dope and they're hanging out with terrorists. And now we're just openly hanging out with terrorists. And they're not even trying to hide it. Back in the day, they tried to hide it at least. They're not even trying to hide anything anymore. And, kind of lost my train of thought there. Oh, I remember back in the day, I would get on an airplane and there would always be at least one soldier on the airplane. And you would always see some guy or some lady getting up saying, I want to thank you for your service. Oh, thank you so much. I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your service. Now, why did Americans say that all the time? Why were they so adamant about going to random soldiers who most likely were not even part of a combat unit? More than likely, those guys were just working behind a desk. But why would they go up to those people to shake their hands and say, I thank you for your service? Because in the American mind at that time, we're talking like 2011, 12, 13, in the American mind at that time, people were still thinking that we were actually fighting terrorism. When the reality was that, yeah, sure, we were fighting some terrorists, but we were also backing other terrorists, and people just didn't really know about those things. And again, at that time, the internet wasn't like now. People weren't completely using the internet for their information in the early 2010s. As crazy as that sounds, it's true. People were not completely under the influence of the internet when it came to media like they are now. Right now, it's all internet, and the cat is out of the bag, and everybody knows what's going on. No one believes anything anymore, and no one believes the U.S. government anymore, and rightfully so, because if you believe the U.S. government, I mean, it's one of those situations that says, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, fool me thrice, really shame on me. And yeah, they're talking about a new beginning, so let me get this straight. Terrorists who are a part of an Al-Qaeda offshoot are going to usher in a new beginning. But some guy named Bashar, who was an eye doctor in England, he was the source of all the problems. Right. And I have a waterfront view in Phoenix to sell to you. Waterfront property with an amazing view of the ocean in downtown Phoenix. So it says here, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham is still blacklisted as a terrorist group because it's Al-Qaeda. It's just a continuation of Al-Qaeda. Oh yeah, and they talk about taking over Al-Quds. They talk about killing the Jews in Jerusalem. And the Germans are willing to work with these guys. But Bashar never talked about taking over Al-Quds. He never talked about killing Jews in Jerusalem. But these guys talk about killing Jews in Jerusalem. But they're going to usher in a new beginning. Right. Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. Mr. Shara is a changed man. Islam has really helped him out, and he does have a terrorist past, but his deeper meditations into the Islamic religion and his deeper perusings of the Quran have led him to a greater and more elevated path of human awareness. Mr. al-Shara has called on the international community to remove that designation. Yes, we're not terrorists anymore, believe us. And he has sought to reassure minority groups, saying he wants to focus on That's why the Alawites are terrified for their lives, and that's why they're telling the Alawites, hand over your guns. We don't want to hurt you, but just hand over your weapons. We don't want to hurt you. We don't want to kill you, but we want you to hand over your guns. We're not going to do anything to you, but we want you to hand over your guns so we can later kill you without you fighting back. We don't want any disruptions in our killing spree. No, we can't have that. At least they're honest, yeah. Oh, yeah, at least they're honest now, right? We can see it. Mental academic. Well, I appreciate that. Kung Fu intellectual. One of my favorite YouTubers, you said fevers, but I know what you're trying to say. Your favorite YouTubers got schizo from ayahuasca. It's dangerous stuff, guys. 9/11 is water under the bridge. 9/11 is literally a spit in the bucket. It means absolutely nothing. Nothing. And it always meant nothing. to the people in charge. It always meant absolutely jack shit. Now, it meant a lot to the average American, but it absolutely meant utterly nothing to the people in charge of America, because to them, 9/11 was just amazing propaganda fodder to justify a war. That's the bottom line. Sounds like treason? No, sounds like America. Germans in the closed door meeting with terrorists. Hey, we're getting the band back together. Absolutely. Hey, you know, Hitler's coming back, Mr. Shara. So, you know, if you want to kill Jews in the future, don't worry, we got your back. Israel also gave aid to these groups. Yep, that's correct. They gave aid to Hayat. What was it called? They gave aid to Jabhat al-Nusra, which is now HTS, the same group that's running Syria right now. So Israel really did help them. And, you know, you have people out there who say to me, Ted, just focus on Islam. Focus on the Muslims. Okay, I'm focusing on Islam. So focusing on Islam, I am reading about the Islamic revolution in Syria. Okay, we're focusing on Islam. And as I'm focusing on the Islamic revolution in Syria, I'm also reading about how Israel is backing them, but we can't talk about that because those are Jews, they're not Muslims, so we're just going to focus on Muslims. Okay, so now I just got done watching the Syrian revolution toppling Assad. All right, so we're focusing on Muslims. Oh, and Netanyahu just did a speech about how he takes credit for the toppling of Assad. So he's taking credit for the success of the Islamic revolution that toppled Assad. But I can't focus on that because Natan's a Jew. So Natan, he's untouchable. We can't focus on that. We just got to focus on. You see how stupid that is? You cannot focus on the Muslim problem without also noticing another problem from another Semitic country that is the elephant in the room. You see how bad faith that is to say, you should just focus on Muslims, stop focusing on Israel. Well, I tried to do that. I really did. And eventually my reading just led me to also see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is not just Muslims, other people involved. Americans about to start building pyramids and sacrificing people after pre-flood style. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. You know, especially if you have this Elon Musk ideology take over, you're going to have some real pagan insanity taking over if that guy gets what he wants. He's going to try to force everybody to inject a chip into their brain. And then he's going to tell everybody, oh, well, take the chip, put the chip in your mind, put it in your brain. It's going to help you. You're going to say, no, I don't want it, damn it. I ain't putting that damn chip in my brain so you can control my mind. I ain't going to let you do it. Nope, you got to do it. And they're going to say it's for the good of your health because in case you get a disease, don't you want us to help you with using Neuralink? We'll use Neuralink to help you. If you're paralyzed or if you have some sort of a neurological condition that prevents you from walking, maybe. I mean, don't you want our help? We'll give you the Neuralink. And then some doctor's going to come and say, you did not take the Neuralink. You have refused to take the Neuralink. You have refused. And you have exhausted our patience, sir. You have exhausted our patience, and we have run out of patience for you, Outlander. Now we're going to put the chip into your brain. It's good for your health, my friend. Yeah. Elon, His Majesty, Mr. Elon, he demands it. He demands it, and it'll be like that scene from the Second Renaissance where the machines have just defeated the humans, and they're doing the final treaty between man and machine, and the machines say, "Hand over your flesh. A new world awaits." It's the creepiest scene of the whole damn thing. It's so creepy, and that's what Elon Musk is essentially saying: "Hand over your flesh, human. We're gonna put this damn chip into your brain so we can control your mind." They want to do mind control through this technology. That's what they want to do. Mind control, guys. That's their whole thing. They want to force people to take this shit, and it'll be a part of some sick, evil, twisted antichrist religion. And I'm happy. I'm actually getting a little bit optimistic now that Americans see right through this Musk guy. Not all Americans, but a lot of Americans have wakened up to this sicko. And that makes me happy. It makes me optimistic because for years I was warning people about Musk, and a lot of people just didn't want to listen. And now we're seeing people opening up their eyes. It took the HB1 visa controversy to awaken people or to get people to be aware of this guy. But the guy's pure evil. Pure evil. He dresses up in this. You can see him here. There's a photo of him wearing this outfit, and there's an upside down cross on the outfit. I mean, it's clearly satanic. Clearly. The current events demand the lifting of all sanctions. So he wants all the sanctions to be taken away because, he's saying Al-Qaeda is good. Al-Qaeda now runs things, so that's good. And here are the Christians in Syria, and they're saying, no, it's not good. They're saying no. These HTS guys are terrorists, and they want to let the whole world know that the Christians are not going to submit to any sort of attempt to coerce Christians into Islam. And they want to let the whole world know that Christians are still in Syria, and they do not want to acquiesce to this Islamic evil that NATO is supporting. And it says here that in a sign of the jitters among some Syrians, a posting on a Facebook page run by the Education Ministry this week described a new curriculum that was interpreted by some as taking a more Islamist slant. Ooh, they're already changing the curriculum in Syria because the curriculum under Assad was not Islamist. People in Syria are already missing the good eye doctor. I mean, Bashar was an eye doctor. Maybe he should go back to being an eye doctor. Maybe he can open up a clinic in St. Petersburg somewhere, or maybe he can open up a clinic in some obscure village in Tatarstan somewhere. Well, not Tatarstan, it's full of Turks. Maybe they'll turn on him, who knows. But he should go back to being an eye doctor in Russia. He was an eye doctor in the UK. And now people in Syria, they're missing the good old eye doctor. They want the eye doctor back. Now they have the Islamists. And they don't have eye doctors amongst them. They have head choppers. They don't care about helping people's eyesight. They actually want to completely take out your eyeballs by chopping off your head. Oh, you got bad eyes? You got bad eyes? We'll fix the problem for you. Your body's not going to have any eyeballs, let alone a head. So that's going to be the eye doctors of Syria, head choppers. At least Assad can help you get a good prescription. At least Assad could help you get a good prescription for glasses, a good prescription for eyeglasses. With these people, there are no prescriptions. The only prescriptions you're going to get is decapitation. Decapitation or burned alive? You choose your poison. Which one do you want? The Gulf states are now worried. Oh, I wonder why that is. These Arab states were helping the Syrian revolution, by the way. Qatar was backing the Syrian revolution. Al Jazeera was backing the Syrian revolution. But now the Gulf states are worried. Oh, they were so happy to see Assad get toppled because Assad is an Alawite and he's an ally of Iran, and Iran wants to destroy the Arab Peninsula countries. So that's why they didn't like Assad. But now they're worried. They're worried. Why are they worried? Why are they worried? Why are they nervous about their fellow Sunnis taking over Syria? Oh, because their fellow Sunnis hate the Arab royals. They hate the Arab elites because the Arab elites want to eat their sushi, and they want to eat their expensive fried shrimp, and they want to live in luxury with their golden toilets. And they live in luxury and they live in degeneracy, and the Sunnis hate the Arabs for that reason. And they want to kill the royal families. The Sunnis do, alongside the Iranians. Bashar had no interest in destroying the Arab Peninsula. He had no interest in that. He was the good eye doctor. But now the Arabs got rid of the eye doctor. So the eye doctor is not there. They have the head choppers. And the head choppers hate the Arab royals just like the Iranians hate them. So what's going to happen? Why in the hell did you get rid of a guy only to be worried about the people that the guy that you got rid of was fighting? Make it make sense. What do you guys want? It's like Saddam Hussein. The Arabs were terrified of Saddam Hussein. America came along. They got rid of Saddam Hussein. Then guess what happened? Iran popped up. Now the Arabs are terrified of Iran. So what did they do? They got rid of an ally of Iran, Bashar. Now they're worried about the people that Bashar was fighting, including Gulf states like the UAE, which has long tried to prevent the rise of groups that embrace. Yep, that's correct. And that's why when the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt, it was the Arabs who supported a revolution to overthrow Mubarak, because they did not want, what they're worried about is people in their countries saying, okay, the Sunnis in Syria did a revolution, now we can do a revolution against the Arab royals. That's what they're worried about. It's the same reason why European countries outside of France were worried about the French Revolution. The British were worried about it. The Austrians were worried about it. The Spanish were worried about it. Why? Because they thought, because the French rebels took out their king and their queen, people in our respective countries could actually start doing the same thing, because they're going to be inspired by the French Revolution, and that's why they were worried, and that's why they all declared war on France. Because what they were worried about is the French Revolution inspiring revolutions in their own countries. So the Arabs are going through the same thing. The reason the Syrian civil war happened in the first place is because the Europeans and the U.S. want to put a pipeline through Syria that goes into Europe. The pipeline starts in Qatar. I've never heard of that, but I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think the ultimate reason why they wanted to overthrow Bashar was to remove a Russian ally. Pipelines, that's all bonuses, but the ultimate geopolitical goal of removing Assad was to remove an ally of Russia and China in the Middle East. An ally that had direct access, or that gave Russia direct access into the Mediterranean. Because the NATOites, they want to make sure that they have control over access into the Mediterranean. Which country has control over access into the Mediterranean from the Black Sea? It's Turkey, and Russia's on the Black Sea, is it not? Russia wants access into the Mediterranean. Russia wants to access the Mediterranean from the Black Sea. It has to go through Turkey to do that. So just by having Turkey as a NATO ally, NATO has that type of control over access into the Mediterranean from the Aegean Sea and from the Dardanelles. Russia has access into the Mediterranean from Syria. NATO wants to get rid of that. So they're already one step further from that because they got rid of Assad. Now what they need to do, or what they want to do, is remove Russia's presence on the Tartus. Because Russia has a big naval base on the Tartus, they want to remove that naval base. How are they going to do that? More than likely, they're going to push for a war between Turkey and Russia. And the war is going to be over Syria. And the Israelis are in Syria. And who knows, you might have a clash between the Turks and the Israelis, and the Turks are going to start the second Holocaust.